Hello and welcome to episode 17 of the Sandeman Street Podcast, a podcast about Dundee and Dundee United from fans of both clubs. I'm Andrew and today I'm joined by my regular co-host Jack. Jack, how are you?
Good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, good. Good weekend all round. Suppose it could have been slightly better for United, but I'm sure you'll take it.
Yeah, it's a good point away from home, despite their current form. It's you'll always take a point at Ibrox, I feel.
Definitely, and we'll get into that soon. Just before we start, as usual, if you could follow us on our socials, that would be greatly appreciated. On Twitter or X, whatever you prefer, we are at Sandeman ST Pod. That is at Sandeman ST Pod. And on Instagram, we are at the Sandeman Street Pod. At the Sandeman Street Pod. If you could also subscribe to our YouTube channel, like our video, as I say, it would be greatly appreciated from me and Jack. Jack, only one place to start, mate, and it isn't Ibrox, I'm afraid, because Dundee have ended a 37 or 38 year hoodoo, beating Celtic at Dundee for the first time since 1988. Now, by my maths, that's 37, is it 37? 37 years that is. If Dundee don't beat Celtic for another 37 years at Dens, to put it into perspective, I would be in my mid-60s. So that is the magnitude of that win yesterday, and you know what? They thoroughly deserved it. Did you watch any of it at all? I don't think you did, but did you
I've seen the
watch any
highlights.
of it?
No, I didn't watch it live. Yeah,
What did you make of that from the highlights that you've seen?
I thought Dundee looked really good actually. Celtic created a couple chances, nothing really amazing. I thought Dundee looked great on the counter attack. To be honest, their second goal, well, just before that, they went on the counter attack and had a good chance. Obviously, never scored that one. Then another counter attack, and you've Congreve gets the ball into the box and it takes a deflection, which I think is actually going out. So it's unfortunate for Cameron Vickers. But it's quite ironic how last week we were talking about how Dundee can't take a corner, and
Cameron Congreve can't take a corner.
Yeah, and he manages to put a good cross into the box, and you scored your first from it. So it was all round. I think it's a great result for Dundee.
Absolutely, and I mean, you know what? I don't like to single out players, so I'm going to go through all the players. John McCracken in goal. I've come on here numerous times and give John McCracken stick. I didn't think he was overly worked yesterday, considering who we were playing against. But when he had to make saves, when he had to come out and collect it or whatever, he done his job. He had a really good save just going into stoppage time. So yeah, the back three: Ashley, Clark Robertson and Graham, outstanding, headed everything, blocked everything, just superb. Dre Wright on the right side of the wing back, he was outstanding up against the boy Tanashika, or whatever his name is, the Tunisian winger, who probably one of Celtic's probably one of their trickiest players that they had. Didn't really get up to much purely because of Dre Wright. Other side, Amari Samuels has finally discovered he's a football player. He had his best game for Dundee yesterday. He was very, very good. And I know that I've given him criticism in the past, so it's only fair to praise him when he plays well. And he was outstanding yesterday. Going into midfield, Digby, how we have missed him. And to be honest with you, you probably didn't think you did, because he only played a handful of League Cup games against teams from lower leagues. And the Hibs and Rangers games in the league, and then he was injured since then, and he has definitely been missed. He was outstanding yesterday. Who else? They had Murray and Wesley up front, tormented Celtic's defence, but the two that I wanted to really focus on, Ethan Hamilton and Cameron Congreve, the two of them were outstanding. Ethan Hamilton is our best signing this summer. I've said it pretty much ever since I've seen him. I liked him in the derby. Dundee were pretty poor in the derby, and that was his first match. Played 90 minutes. He just looks the part. He's big. He's powerful. If he sees a space in front of him, he'll run into it, drive down the pitch, and he was outstanding yesterday, and having Digby there it was a good foil for him, I thought. So yeah, absolutely brilliant. It seems to be carrying the team a bit with him in the past few weeks, but having Digby there to kind of go alongside him, he was outstanding. And Cameron Congreve, I mean, Kieran Tierney's one of the best players I've seen in Scotland through the times that I've been watching football, watching Dundee. He looks a shell of what he was when he was last up here, Kieran Tierney. And I've noticed that when I've seen him for Scotland in the past few international breaks. He looks finished, eh? I know I might disagree with that, people might argue with that, but he looks like he's had an injury too many, in my opinion. One of the things that Kieran Tierney was brilliant at when he was at first at Celtic was getting him on, getting up the pitch. He was fast, he was athletic, he full of energy. He looks like he doesn't want to break into a sprint anymore. But Congreve absolutely roasted him in scales, roasted them. The second goal, I mean, they obviously got lucky with taking a bit of a deflection off of Carter Vickers, but Liam Scales is paying to get back in. But yeah, outstanding performance from Dundee yesterday. One of the best I've seen in a long, long time. I remember the boy sitting beside Ross, one of my good pals, turned on probably about 80 minutes, and you'll have probably seen this on the highlights. I'm sure it was Hatate had it. He had a shot from maybe about 12 yards on the half volley, right in the middle of the goal, and it hits off Luke Graham's arse and goes wide. And you know when you're at a game, and obviously, like I said on the previous podcast, haven't ever seen Dundee beat Celtic, and you don't want to admit it to yourself because Dundee have got a bit of a habit of building your hopes up and then shattering your heart into a million pieces. But when that happened, along with a lot of other things that happened in the match, I turned to Ross and was like, it just feels like today is the day. And it was. Now, when you not so much Rangers at the moment, because Rangers are quite poor and they're not winning any games, but when you're playing Celtic normally, you need to carry luck. You need to take your chances, and you need to carry a bit of luck. And Dundee carried a bit of luck yesterday, as well as being very good. Did you see that on the highlights when it hit his arse and went wide?
Yeah, I seen it. It was actually a really good block because the keeper was beat. So
I know.
It's fortunate, but you take it every day of the week.
Absolutely.
I think, to be honest, I think Celtic could have played for another match right back after that and no scored. I think they were really poor, and I thought Dundee were solid defensively, so they limited Celtic to half chances. Yeah, I agree with you. It was a great performance for Dundee.
Yeah, and there was another one, the other one, the big one. So there was the Tierney chance in the first half where 9 times out of 10 he's putting that in the far corner and he puts it right across the goal and wide. But then the penalty, I mean, everybody in the ground thought it was a penalty. And his arms are way up in the air. No idea why his arms are so far in the air. And last season, when we were beating Celtic 3-2 in injury time, that hits Mo Silva's arm. And yesterday it hits the boy square in the nose. Hits Digby square in the nose. So your luck's in.
I don't even think it hit him in the nose. It looked like it hit him in the chest.
I think it hit him in like the face.
Yeah, I've seen the ref pointing to his head, so I'm guessing it did. But from what I've seen, it looked like it hit him in the chest, and it's just bounced upwards. Nearly hits his hand after it hits him in the chest, or the face, to be fair. But yeah, you were fortunate there because if his arms were slightly lower, it's a penalty probably.
Yep, and what he's doing with his arms way up there, I've got no idea. But I mean, like I said 2 seconds ago, last season we're winning 3-2 against Celtic, and a shot comes in from the boy Kuhn, and it hits Mo Silva in the arm. To yesterday, when your luck is in, it hits him in the face when it could an inch either side, and it hits him in the arm. So your luck's in, isn't it? Another thing I wanted to speak to you about the match yesterday. What did you make of the protests from the Celtic supporters?
I did not see it.
So before the match, just before as the players were coming at the tunnel and whatnot, they had these banners up saying like something about incompetence, and it was all directed at their board. And then they had 4 or 5 board members in like the red circle with the score through it. They were asking and sacked the board, and then as the match kicked off, they started throwing bouncy balls and tennis balls onto the pitch.
All right.
So the game was stopped for about 3 or 4 minutes, and ironically, Dundee scored in the 3rd minute of injury time
Oh.
to go 2-0 up.
So Dundee could have very well went in at the break at 0-0 if it wasn't for the Celtic
Well, they
fans.
could have went in a 1-0 if it was
1-0, sorry. Yeah,
if it
2-0.
was.
Yeah, you're right.
But I mean, typically when you play the Old Firm and you get a result, either a draw or a victory, it's kind of you'll get your either it's a 0-0 and it's a backs against the wall 0-0, or it's you'll take your chance and you'll defend for your life. I mean, Dundee could have scored more yesterday. And as I say, in the first half, Congaree was terrorising them down their left, our right. And then in the second half, Ashe had one that was inches past the post, a header from a flick on. It was a flick on to him from a long throw-in. So, I mean, Dundee were thoroughly deserving of a 2-0 win. Thoroughly deserving. As you said there, and James McFadden said on commentary, 5 minutes, 15 minutes, 50 minutes. Honestly, it felt like Celtic could have played their A day and not scored.
Yeah, it looked like they didn't have anything. No firepower. Iheanacho doesn't seem to be doing much since he signed. He hits the post in the first half. I think your goalie misjudges where the ball's going, and it does hit the bottom post. But apart from that, he's not really offered anything. So it looks like their goals are going to come from midfield this year, and you had their midfield on lockdown, it seems. So, yeah, Celtic just don't look like they came out the gates at all yesterday.
The one for me, and I mean, I know that every football team in the history of the world, the history of the football, has had their fair share of like bad signings, bad players. Every team's had them. But I tell you something, the boy Yang, he is absolutely honking. He wouldn't get a game for us. He scored at Dens last season. It was a bit of like a scruffy header. But honestly, I've seen him playing a handful of times for Celtic against Dundee. I've seen him playing on the telly for Celtic in European games and league matches, Old Firm games, whatever. He's absolutely garbage. I don't know how he's still there, how he keeps getting a game for them. James Forrest on the bench. James Forrest is about 100 years old. You'd be better playing him.
Is he not about 30 or so?
Mate, honestly, he's so bad. So bad. And then they brought on, I can't even remember how to pronounce it, but it's like Balakashiba or something like that. Honking. Absolutely honking. And he made his debut in the Old Firm game at Ibrox earlier in the season. We were watching that before the derby, our derby, and he was passive as passive could be in that game. But you thought, it's his debut, new country, new team, Old Firm game, never easy, atmosphere, away from home, blah, blah, blah. He just continued and he looks like a centre midfielder playing wide. He's
just no got the position.
Absolutely honking it. Another one that surprised me, because they were on about Alistair Johnson being fit, but he didn't make it. But they've been playing the boy Colby Donovan.
Yeah,
because obviously he was linked with us. Yeah, Johnson was injured and Ralston was injured. They played Ralston instead of him. Honking. I've always thought that Ralston gets a wee bit of unfair stick when he plays for Scotland because he's a steady player, but he was absolutely stinking on Sunday.
I mind he was United when he was on United. He was fine. He was a decent player, but you wouldn't expect him to be playing for Celtic. You know what I mean?
He's a mid-table player in the SPL, man.
Yeah.
But who else? Hatate. Don't know what's happened to him. McGregor was very poor. You can go through their whole team. I'm not wanting to constantly take pot shots at their players, but the two boys you mentioned at the beginning, Yang and Balakashiwa, whatever his name is, absolutely murder. Oh, murder.
Oh, the Balakashiwa boy you're saying, he came from Antwerp, I think it was, eh? Yeah, I'm sure he came from Royal Antwerp. He was
Antwerp Armies, yeah.
Yeah, I think he was meant to be pretty good, like when they signed him, but obviously he's just maybe not got that physical presence needed for the Scottish game.
Didn't get us wrong. He had a couple of touches where he looked to be a bit tricky, but in the whole, mate, really, really poor. And Yang, wow, he is...
Couldn't get a game for the Puri.
Honestly, mate, he's better sitting next to me and Ross. He was absolutely stinking. But, no, absolutely delighted with that yesterday. As I say, first time I've seen Dundee beat Celtic. The first time Dundee have beat Celtic since 2001 when Ivano Bonetti won, I think it was 2-0 at Parkhead. First time they've won it then since the 80s when Tommy Coyne scored. So, loads of milestones ticked off. 20 odd years I've been going to see Dundee. Martin actually said this, text me earlier about this. He says, you've been going to the football for donkey's years and you're still seeing firsts. And I text him back saying, suppose being shite and getting a result every donkey's years has some perks.
True.
So, yeah. That covers the Dundee versus Celtic game. We'll now move on to the Tangerine side of things. They took on a managerless Rangers. We discussed who we thought the interim manager would be. It turned out it was Stevie Smith, former Rangers left back. Actually, Sam watched the game, Jack. I don't know how much you've seen of it. And Rangers were very good in the first half. Probably could have been more than 2 or 3 goals into the lead. We're 2 or 3-0 up at half time. The boy, is it Asgard? Not been very impressed with him, but he scored a cracker of a goal.
Great goal.
Rangers were 1-0 up at half time. But Rangers do what Rangers have been doing all season. And they came out in the second half and they were like a different team. And United took full advantage of that, didn't they?
Yeah. Like you say, Rangers were great the first half. I don't know if they created many glaring opportunities. The boy Ashgar obviously scores a great goal, takes on a couple of boys in the dribble and hits it into the top right corner. Keeper's got no chance. United miss a chance right at the start of the game as well for Ivan Dolcek. But second half, like you say, I don't know if it's Jim Goodwin set the team up differently or whatnot. Dolcek gets subbed off at half time. I think it changes the game, and United seem to create a lot more chances. And the couple of goals United scored were really good. Trabanovski cutting in from the right hand side, manages to hit it low, cross the keeper, and Butland really should probably save it. I think he's blindsided. Scores the goal, and then Sibbald scores an absolute raker from 25-30 yards out. And you can't really complain about that. Obviously, Tav then scores near the end with another good goal, to be fair. He seems to love a goal against United. But yeah, like I said at the start, I think you're always going to take a point at Ibrox, no matter the form Rangers are in, because you know a team of their size, they're capable of winning most games. So when you get the chance to gain points there, you're going to take it.
Yeah, absolutely. I was a bit suspect for the Rangers goalie for the equaliser the United scored. Was it Trapanovski?
Yeah.
They scored the equaliser. Bit suspect. Maybe he didn't see it until late, so it's a wee bit harsh. But the second goal the United scored, absolute cracker. And to be honest with you, if I was the boy, is it Sapsford who ran through, and he should have scored. If I was Sapsford, I'd be giving Sibbald a big kiss on his baldy head, because he got out of jail. Sibbald bailed him right out. Well, an absolutely great chance that he had just before the goal went in. But yeah, cracking of a goal. And when Tavernier scored the equaliser, I just turned around and it was like, it's always him, isn't it? It's always Tavernier, a right back, and he scores for fun. And you see that he's got a great record against United. He's got a great record against everybody.
Yeah, probably, that's true, yeah.
He always
seems to score, and at the end of games as well, when Rangers need it the most, that's when he pops up. Like he does seem to be the type of player that he'll drag Rangers out of hole when they need it. Kind of like what Stevie Gerrard was back in the day with Liverpool, where Liverpool be getting beat, Steven Gerrard would always pop up with a goal to save them. And I feel like that's the same with Tavernier, the Rangers.
Yeah, absolutely. But all in all, probably a fair result. Rangers fans would maybe argue that they probably should have won the game based on what they did in the first half, but I think it was probably a fair result given how United played in the second half.
Yeah, United were definitely much better in the second half. But you're right in saying that Rangers fans could probably feel a wee bit aggrieved the fact that they didn't go more than 1-0 up at half time. But that's the nature of the beast when it comes to football, and sometimes, despite dominating games in halves and full matches, you still don't get the result you need.
Well, the thing is, mate, if you didn't put the
Or
ball in the
deserve.
net and you can't defend your goal, then you get what you deserve, really.
Yep, that's
Um,
true.
The only stat that matters in football is about how many goals you've scored. And both United goals were long rangers. The second goal was a cracker. The first goal, did the keeper save it? I think he can, but maybe that's harsh. If you're having the possession, you're having the domination that Rangers had in the first half. You mentioned Dolcek's effort quite early on that took a wee nick, went wide of the post. If you're Rangers and you're having that much of the game in the first half, and they had, to be honest with you, I don't think that their chances were like glaring misses or anything like that. They had like half chances where it didn't quite fall to them and things like that. If it was a yard either side, then it might have fallen better for them and whatnot. But I don't think it was one of them where the boys rattling the bar, missing a free header for 8 yards, like all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it probably was a fair result, to be honest with you, given how much of a collapse they had from their first half performance to their second half performance. But Tavernier got them out of jail yet again, and it's funny because see, for the past maybe 3 or 4 years now, every summer the Rangers fans want Tavernier out, or a portion of them do, or a manager wants him out. And he's always, after a couple of months, he's the first name on the team sheet again.
Yeah. Yeah, he just seems like he's always going to be there. I feel like he's never going to leave. He's always going to be in the first team.
Mate.
Yeah.
And yeah, Rangers get a lot of penalties. And yeah, the meme is always, Tavernier scores from the penalty and whatnot. Penalty to Rangers. But he doesn't half score a lot of goals that aren't the penalties as well.
Yeah, he seems to run up on the edge of the box and try and hit them from outside, and that's what he done against United, and I feel like that's what he's done against a lot of teams. That or free kicks. He likes a free kick goal as well, or he did a few years ago.
I mean, he scored an absolute cracker of a free kick at Paradise, and it was when there was no fans there.
Yeah, like I say, he's a good free kick taker. To be fair, he's good at set pieces in general. He rarely misses a penalty, I don't think so. He's going to score goals when he gets them chances, and obviously, as you're saying, Rangers, the meme that they're getting all these penalties. But if he's your penalty taker, then he's going to rack up the goals.
Yeah. And one thing I wanted to touch on, and I think you touched on this after the derby, and loads of people were calling us bitter blue nose and all that sort of stuff. But you know what, right? This isn't coming from a place of being angry or coming from a place of me being a Dundee fan and it's Dundee against United or anything. But I'll tell you something, right? Jim Goodwin has got that United team streetwise. They physios are United are never off that park in the second half. And you know how the players are wearing the GPS vests now? I honestly reckon that the GPSs on the physios are probably showing more mileage than half the players. I'm not kidding you. Stephen Presley, the physio, and his mate, they're never off the park. With the goalie, he's a cracker. He came out, absolutely cleaned out the Canadian centre half for Rangers, touches the ball with his fingertips, and you need to get a goal kick. And then there was the other one where he went in and touched the United centre half's knee on his face, and he's rolling around. The boys are on treating him. And you know what? Fair play to them, because they're getting away with it. I mean, I know that I've had numerous different moans on this podcast about how I hope that clock stopping gets brought into football. And you know what, right? That's exactly the reasons why I wanted to get brought in, because teams do this sort of thing where they'll have the physios come on because they know the referees never add on the amount of time that they're actually on for, and all that sort of thing. That's the reason why I want it, But United are doing it, and it's working to their advantage because they've done it at Dens. There was about 4 or 5 instances in the second half at Dens where the physios were on. Nothing wrong with any of the players. So
if you get away with it, why wouldn't you? Why
exactly,
would you
and as I say, this isn't coming from a place of me like, I hate United, and I didn't get us wrong, I do hate United, but it's not coming from that place. It's just something that I noticed and I wanted to speak about it. So yeah, that caught my eye, shall I say? Anything else you want to talk about the Rangers game whilst we're here?
No, I can't think of anything.
Okay.
No.
Well, what we'll do is we'll move on to the rest of the card in the Premiership over the weekend. The first game I have here is Hibs 4, Livingston 0. Now, I don't think the Premier League table has really taken shape yet. It's one of the leagues where everyone can beat everybody. I don't think anybody other than Hearts and Celtic have won over 2 games of football this season. I might be wrong on that now. But it's the league. I don't think this... Usually by the third international break, November, December time, the league's kind of taken shape. But I don't think you're going to get that until about January, February, maybe even into March this season, because everybody just seems to be beating everybody. But
yeah, it seems very competitive this year, to be fair.
Yeah, Livy have dropped to the bottom of the league now, I think. And
yeah, they have.
I think it might be tough for them this season. You know how we've done our predictions and I tipped them to be bottom, and then I said I'd rather tip Falkirk and stuff. Maybe that tip was actually right, but yeah, it's early days. Next result, Motherwell Madrid 1, Falkirk 2. Motherwell, who passed the ball about 1 billion times, and they're the first Scottish team to invent passing. Another defeat from them. They've still only got 1 victory this season, and it was after the Aberdeen goalie chucked it in the net in the last minute. So Pep Guardiola is not having a very good time at Motherwell. Rangers 2, Dundee United 2, St Mirren 0, Aberdeen 1. Now, did you see the goal the Aberdeen player scored?
I did.
Outstanding
really good
goal. Outstanding.
Yeah, very good goal.
The other result on Saturday was Killie 0, Hearts 3 in the late kick-off. Hearts really seemed to be building up a bit of momentum, and they're playing Celtic at Tynecastle on Sunday. That looks very tasty.
Big game, mate.
Big game.
If Hearts win that, they could run away with it, to be honest with you.
They go 8 points clear if they win that, which I still don't think is enough, but you never know. You never know. They're a bit of a runaway train at the moment. And the result, as we were speaking about, the result yesterday, Dundee 2, Celtic 0. Moving on to this weekend, Jack. United are back at Tannadice, which seems like they've been there a lot recently. St Mirren are the visitors. Tough game, isn't it?
Yeah, mate. Like we've said previously, your favourite man, Stephen Robinson's in charge.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, he's a good coach. You'll have them well drilled. Typically, they're quite a physical team. They've got boys like Gogic still in there. Really physical defender. I actually really, really like Gogic as a player. But they don't seem to have been having a great season so far. They've joint lowest scorers in the league along with Aberdeen.
It's a bit like everybody though, isn't it? It's like everybody seems to be winning and dropping points, drawing. Like, nobody's got any sort of consistency other than Hearts.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, like I said, they're the joint lowest scorers in the league with Aberdeen, which is saying something considering Aberdeen didn't score for like 6 games. I think they've only scored 5 goals this season so far. They'll probably score a couple against us because our defence is typically pretty shite. Their defence is solid though. They've got the 3rd best defence in the league this season so far, only conceding 7. So I think they'll be solid defensively. We've just got to hope we can maybe grab one and defend from there. But it's always a tough place a tough team to play. St Mirren, I always feel like the games with United are always quite close. Luckily, we've got a bit more of a physical team this year, which St Mirren normally use to their advantage against us because we've been slightly slimmer and slender the last few years. So we've bulked up, and hopefully that gains us the edge over them this weekend.
Yeah, the St Mirren are a good team. Full of good players. I like the boy Killian Phillips as much as he's a bit of a shithouse. He's a decent player for them. I remember Dundee were actually linked with him a few years ago, but he's turned into a really good player for St Mirren. Who else? Declan John, good player. And as you mentioned, the boy Gogic. He's the absolute master at getting away with things, isn't he?
Yeah, he is.
He's the master at it.
Get away with murder.
Oh, he gets away with, as you say, he gets away with murder. It's actually quite funny. As frustrating as it is, it's actually quite funny.
I reckon the refs are scared of him. And they just didn't want to do nothing.
They wonder. My
Terrifying boy.
God. Mate, he's one of the people who isn't bald but chooses to be bald, isn't he? He's 100% got hair.
Oh, absolutely.
He waxes his head every night, I reckon.
Get the sander out.
But what do you reckon then? So, I think Dundee and United actually. Now, obviously, Dundee have played St Mirren this season. United haven't, I don't think. Dundee and United both had good records against St Mirren last season. I don't think St Mirren beat a Dundee team last season. And I think United were 4 wins from... No. St Mirren beat United after the split, I think. But United were 4 wins, 3 wins, 1 defeat from 4 games, I think. No, because they would have played them 4 times in the league. I'm talking garbage. So they played them in the League Cup and 4 times in the league, and I think they won 3 league games and a cup game, and St Mirren won the one after the split, and Dundee won 2 out of the 3 games. So obviously St Mirren have beat Dundee this season at Paisley.
Yeah.
What do you reckon? Do you think it's? Do you think United could get the victory on Saturday?
I think we will, mate. I think we'll get a narrow 1-0 win. That's my prediction. I'm going to go 1-0. As long as we can get a goal, like I say, St Mirren haven't scored many. Our defence isn't great, but you've got to hope you can get a clean sheet at some point this season. Obviously, we've got the clean sheet against Dundee, but apart from that. So, yeah, it'll be interesting. But, yeah, I'm going to go 1-0, and I hope for at least a somewhat decent performance defensively. Okay,
well, since you brought up the predictions, what I'll do is I'll cover the... We started the prediction, a bit of a prediction challenge last year, just not really a challenge, just a bit of fun more than anything else. But the 2 games were Dundee against Celtic, Rangers against United, obviously. For the Dundee against Celtic, I went 3-0 Celtic, you went 3-1. Obviously, it was 2-0 Dundee, so neither of us got any points. For Rangers against United, I went 1-1, and you went 1-0 Rangers. So
yeah,
I didn't get the correct score, but I got the correct result. So I got 1 point, so that's mean I won to 1 point for that challenge. So the United St Mirren game, you have went for a 1-1 draw. 1-0 United.
1-0 United, I'm going.
1-0 United. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw.
Fair.
I think teams are very evenly matched.
My thinking is some teams have got to start winning eventually, so
well,
I'll back the win.
I wouldn't surprise me if United won because they're at home, but yeah, I'm going to go for 1-1 on that one. Moving on to the other game involving our sides this weekend, which is Dundee travelling to Falkirk. Now, I'm going to be going. I've not been to Falkirk in a long time. I think the last time I was at Falkirk, Dundee were in the Championship. I was still at school.
So that was a few years ago.
They got beat 2-0. Oh, you're absolutely right, it was a few years ago. They got beat 2-0. That was a weird season. It was when Dundee won the league. Hamilton and Falkirk were the other teams challenging. And Dundee didn't beat Falkirk all season. Falkirk didn't beat Hamilton all season. And Hamilton didn't beat us all season. Does that make sense?
So yeah, it makes sense.
We never lost to Hamilton, Falkirk never lost to Dundee, and Hamilton never lost to Falkirk. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, it's going to be a tricky one. Obviously, they've came up this season. They're getting big crowds. We've got a very limited away end, 750 tickets or something like that we're only getting. But I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to going back there. I've not been there for a long time, as I said. It's going to be a tricky one. They've obviously got the momentum of coming up last season. And we're coming off the back of a really good result, which is never a good thing when you're Dundee.
Or any team, really.
Well,
I feel like most teams, if you get a good result, especially against the Old Firm, you take it easy the next week because you're on high. You're thinking, oh yeah, we're going to stroll this. We beat Celtic, we're going to stroll this one, and then it never works out that way.
Well, speaking about the Celtic game, the last, obviously, as I've said numerous times now, and everyone's going to be like, oh, here he goes again. It was the first time I've seen Dundee beat Celtic. If you go back to the first time I've seen Dundee beat Rangers, which was about 7 or 8 years ago, the next game they played was away to Motherwell, and they were 5-0 up at half time.
Oh my God.
5-1 up at half time, sorry. They were 5-1 up at half time. So if that's anything, if that's an omen to go by, then I'll take it. But I don't think that'll be the case somehow. I think Dundee will play very similar. to be honest with you. They look like they're far more better coached under Presley compared to Docherty. Now, I know that that's kind of a bit of a slander at Docherty. Tony Docherty is clearly a good coach. He's not been involved in the level that he's been involved in for a long time now, if he's not. But he really struggled over a 2-year period to organise Dundee defensively. Now, they obviously had the lapse a couple of weeks ago at Pittodrie. Stephen Presley came out and owned that situation. When we done the podcast a fortnight ago, I said that I absolutely agreed that Stephen Presley was probably to blame there. He came out and he took responsibility, and I was absolutely happy with that. Like, no problems at all. He comes out, admits that it was his mistake, owns it. I've got no problem with that. It's learning from it. And my God, they learnt from it. Go out and beat Celtic 2-0. They looked very strong defensively. They were looking disciplined. If I was Stephen Presley, I would say to the same 11, if they're all fit, go and do exactly the same thing. And I know that they're playing a team like Falkirk, who are newly promoted, but we're away from home. I would go into them, play exactly the same way, play counter-attack football. Say to Falk, can you break us down? Because Celtic couldn't.
True.
And just play exactly the same way, because we've seen what happened when we go to Pittodrie and opened up. We get pumped. Now, I think Aberdeen are probably a better team than Falkirk, but Dundee, I don't think, are capable of playing that way just now. Stephen Presley said that in his press conference last week. I think we've got to play in a certain way. We've got to be more conservative. And I'm absolutely happy for us to play like that if we're able to counter-attack quickly. And on Saturday, it showed we're more than capable of that. When you've got boys like Congreve, Dre Wright, Wesley, Simon Murray, Samuels on the other side, getting themselves up the wing. Yeah, I would. If I was Stephen Presley, I would say, go again.
Yeah.
What do you reckon?
Yeah, mate. Like, if it works against Celtic, I mean, the chances are it'll probably work against Falkirk. Falkirk, I think, are quite an open team. I feel like they like to attack and be on, like, positive on the ball. So there's going to be spaces there where Dundee can exploit it, especially on the counter-attack. I think counter-attacking football is almost viewed negatively upon because you're not being proactive and positive, and you're just sitting back and absorbing the pressure and hitting on the counter. But it's a tactic for a reason, and there's teams out there that focus solely on counter-attacking football and it works really well. Look at, I've mentioned them before, but Bodø Glimt, when they first came up into the top flight of Swedish football with Kjell Knutsen in charge, they were purely counter-attacking football and they won the league. So it's clearly got a place, and they were the underdogs there. Dundee were the underdogs against Celtic. So there's no reason why, if it's a bit more of an even game, the counter-attack still wouldn't do its job and make it possible for Dundee to get the result. I think it's a tough game. I think it's had pretty similar seasons so far, outside of your Old Firm results, obviously. But you're both on 9 points. I think there's one goal in it, and goal difference-wise. I think it's going to be a close game, to be honest with you, but I think Dundee may just have the edge over Falkirk in terms of, I've got a couple of players who are really good. Like Ethan Hamilton, you mentioned him before. I think he's a really good player. I was really impressed that you managed to sign him. And Congreve is also a really good player. Falkirk have obviously got some decent players there as well. But I think Dundee may have the edge if they go and set out the way that they did against Celtic.
Yeah, I mean, I know that a lot of people will probably be sitting listening to this and they'll be thinking, it's Falkirk, it's Celtic. But I think give Falkirk the same respect as you give Celtic. And as I've said, Stephen Presley's admitted that we are not ready for opening up, taking the handbrake off, that sort of thing. He's come out and he's admitted that we're not really ready for that. And I think that the performance against Celtic and the way it was set up and the game plan is a perfect away from home game plan to put into place. And I play like that every single week away from home for the rest of the season. Now, obviously, eventually teams will probably figure you out and you'll have to adapt and change it about and whatever like that. But I've said this a couple of times now. No change anything. Exactly the same. Do exactly the same thing. And just say to Falkirk, what have you got? And I honestly do believe if they've done that, they'll beat Falkirk on Saturday. But there's also that Dundee fan inside my head going, you've had that great result, now you're about to get brought back down to earth with a thump.
Do you reckon Presley will go out and play counter-attack? Or do you reckon he'll open up a wee bit?
I think he'll have his fingers burnt for the Futbology match.
Yeah.
I don't think you'll see Dundee playing like that again this season unless they're playing like a lower league team in the cup, in the Scottish Cup. Yeah, if I just say, go away, play like that, and I honestly do reckon that there'll be plenty of chances there. I don't think Falkirk are that great, to be honest. I know that they won at Madrid on Saturday. Dundee are more than capable of going there and winning.
Yeah.
Predictions, Jack. I'll go first.
Mm-hmm.
See, having said all that, am I going to predict Dundee to win? You know what I'm going to go? I'm going to go 2-2.
Okay, interesting.
What do you reckon?
I was going to go 2-1 Dundee.
Okay, so you've went 2-1 Dundee and you've went 1-0 United.
Yeah.
And I've went 1-0 and 2-0.
I'm actually just thinking, when was the last time both teams won in the same week?
Well, Dundee have won twice this season. Obviously not this weekend. Dundee won at home to Livy, and I'm pretty sure that was when United were at Hibs.
Oh, we never won that. I reckon it's been a while.
Probably last season.
Yeah, it will be at some point.
To be honest, some point last season.
But yeah, I'm going to go with a Dundee double this weekend.
Okay, so you've went 2-1 Dundee, 1-0 United, and I have went 2-0 in the Dundee game and 1-0 in the United game. So we'll mark that down. That takes us on nicely to the Futbology challenge. Now, on screen now you'll see the league table. You'll see there's been plenty of movement. You'll have seen that there's been a lot of games. I have a 4-1 victory to talk about this week. It was from October the 20th, 2007. A crowd of 3,639. Dundee 4, Livingston 1. Now, the teams that day, for Dundee, the lineups were Craig Samson, David Worrell, Gary McKenzie, Martin Corrigan, Paul Dixon, Freddie Daquin, Scott Robertson, Kevin McDonald, Gavin Swankie, Jan Zemelik and Bob Davidson. And on the bench, Michael White, Paul McHale, Danny Griffin, Derek Lyle and Yanni Sturm. For Livy, goalie was Marius Liberda, Scott Mitchell, Craig James, Dermot McCaffrey, Liam Fox, Jason Kennedy, Mark Tinkler, Graham Dorrans, Lee Makel, Stephen Craig and Thomas Pesser. And on the bench, Mark Lunn, Cameron McDonald, Stephen Weir, Lee Matthews and Jakob Hotek. The goal scorers were Pesser for Livy on the 14th minute, Davidson 20th, Zemelik 61st, Davidson 68th and Lyle 73rd. To be honest with you, Jack, not too much to remember about this game, although having seen the programme cover on the archive, I have that programme somewhere, so it was obviously at the match. A few players that have went on to bigger and better things in those two teams, probably most notably Graham Dorrans from Livingston. Went on to have a bit of a cracking career, obviously played for Dundee towards the end of his career. So yeah, 4-1 victory for me. That moves me not up the league, but moves me closer to Jack, level on points, because Jack and Martin both had the same game. Goal difference keeps Jack in second place. The United game was on the 20th of October 2012. There was a crowd of 9,858 for Aberdeen's visit to Tannadice. The United team that day was Radoslaw Czerniak, Sean Dillon, Gavin Gunnan, Keith Watson, Willow Flood, Mark Miller, John Rankin, Stuart Armstrong, Michael Gardine, John Daly and Johnny Russell. And on the bench, Steve Banks, Brian McLean, Gregory Vignal, Ryan Gold, Richie Ryan, Dale Hilson and Ryan Dow. For Aberdeen, Jamie Langfield, Clark Robertson, Russell Anderson, Mark Reynolds, Gavin Ray, Chris Clark, Niall McGinn, Isaac Osborne, Stephen Hughes, Ryan Fraser and Scott Vernon. And on the bench, Danny Rogers, Joe Shaughnessy, Rob Milsom, Johnny Hayes, Jordan Brown, Josh McGuinness and Cammy Smith. The scorers were Rankin on 22 and McGinn on 53. Jack, you were at the match, you watched the highlights earlier. What's your thoughts?
The reason I remember being at this match is because it was Mark Miller's debut for United.
Okay.
And I couldn't remember at the time, but I was like, why do I remember being at this game? And it was because, like I say, he just signed from Falkirk, and I think he'd had a pretty good season the previous at Falkirk, and we signed him, and I thought, I'm going to go to the game and see what he looks like. So I remember, I'm almost certain I was in the Eddie Thompson, and United obviously had quite a good team then. Aberdeen did as well. Boys like Ryan Fraser, obviously playing in the Prem now in England, and a few other boys there went on to have good careers as well. But I also remember Niall McGinn. I think he was on fire at the start of the season.
Yeah, and, he was. That was his hot streak at Aberdeen.
Yeah, and he scored against us. And you just knew it was coming, I felt like, because he'd scored against pretty much every team in previous fixtures. And you're just like, he's probably going to score against us, and he did. But United had, it seemed like quite an even game from the highlights. I don't really remember much of the game itself, but yeah, it is a game that I do remember being at.
Quite a miracle, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I know. I had to watch it back to remember.
I'm absolutely sure that given the research that I was quickly researching into that game, so I had a bit to talk about, was the Aberdeen fans saw the banner saying "The shed is red."
I've mentioned that before, yeah. So I must have been at that game. I must have been at that game. Yeah. Class.
Anyway,
I've got to bring that to retirement.
Well, they seem to be getting the shed again, so you never know.
Yeah, exactly.
That moves Martin on to 10 points. Jack and I are on 7, but Jack has a superior goal difference because I kept getting hammered earlier in the season. So, the Futbology challenge for this week and the episode for this week is finished. Next week we'll be back covering Falkirk's against Dundee and covering United's game against St Mirren. Next week's episode will be the last episode for a week. I'm on holiday the week after, so we'll not have an episode out that week. So the second week in November will be when we do the monthly top 5 for November. Me and you, Jack, we'll have to have a think about what we're going to do, what subject we're going to do.
It's your choice, I'm pretty sure.
I think it might be. I don't know if we should do a juicy one again, considering we've done hated players, or maybe tone it down now at this time.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, that's what the next couple of weeks are going to look like. So, the episode will be out next week, but no episode the week after. And then it'll be back to normal again up until the Christmas New Year time. Just before we go, as always, could you follow us on our social media platforms? If you're listening on YouTube, subscribe to our channel. Give this a like. Give this video a like. If you are on Twitter or X, whatever you prefer, could you follow us? It is at Sandeman ST Pod. That is at Sandeman, S for Sierra, T for Tango, POD for Pod. And Instagram is at the Sandeman Street Pod. At the Sandeman Street Pod. Thanks everyone for listening and have a great weekend. Cheers.